If we poop like animals, we smell like animals.
Have you got any poo for it now?
Wow, I made a humorous misquote of a story we just watched, and you quoted Madagascar.
I know, but it's like the only funny thing in Madagascar.
Honey,
Yeah.
nothing is funny about the film Madagascar.
Hey.
Do you know what is funny? In
Yeah.
that not actually humorous, but just kind of amazing way.
Go on.
We finished classic Doctor Who.
What?
Someone is now angrily typing, "What about Paul?" That's an event. We'll do it. But we finished classic Doctor Who. We've just watched season 26.
Yeah.
We'll get to our thoughts on how that feels in a bit. But first, should we talk about some stories?
Let's talk about them stories.
Let's talk about them stories. Welcome to Doctor Who Review. I'm Chris.
I am not Chris.
Once upon a time, not Chris set us both the task of starting a Doctor Who marathon from the very tippity-tip-tip-toppity. And we finished the original run of the programme. Maboo! What the flip happened in Battlefield?
Well, I've forgotten how it started.
Brilliant. Well, that was
It's
a good review.
it's essentially Sword and Stone.
Arthur is real, but where's Arthur from?
Arthur is from...
It's not from our past.
the future.
Not from our future.
He's from a different dimension.
So we're getting a rare different dimension story. We've only had like a couple.
Mm.
The modern show will only have like one or two as well, because that's the thing in Doctor Who, it's not about hopping dimensions.
Yeah, there's too much to take in there if you keep going in.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good idea that they only did it a few times.
But it turns out the Arthurian legend at least seems to be based off of this other dimension that has popped in and out of our reality at times. Arthur is in it, kind of.
Kind of.
He is sleeping. Arthur! Why are you sleeping? Next to...
Oh, Tegan's not in this series, mate.
Oh yes, Tegan, that famous Finding Nemo character.
No! Things keep landing on Earth from space. From the sky, and Unit are investigating.
I love how you sort of did a scare quote.
I know,
but it is Unit.
I kind of went to do it and then went...
Hang on, it is Unit.
It is Unit. There's a new Brigadier.
Yeah, Brigadier Winifred Bambera, played by the always excellent Angela Bruce.
She was fabulous.
She
made a great Brigadier.
She's so good. Because the thing is, she retains her former title holder's gung-ho-ness and arrogance from his youth, where he is a bit more like, yes, we're here to investigate because we want the Earth to be prepared, but ultimately if there's still a monster, he's like, right, quick, give me a gun. It's like, right, hang on, whoa!
Shoot her!
So she's a bit of a blowhard, she's a bit too quick to jump to combat. But it's kind of nice.
In that situation, he kind of calls for it.
Well, it's more same old, isn't it? It's that whole thing of, oh, this will never change. Like, this kind of thing will never change. They need to get their scientific advisor on payroll. So the Doctor and Ace get mixed up in it. We have knights rocking up, appearing out of nowhere, both on the side of good and the side of bad, fighting against one another. The bad one's led by Morgaine, who's essentially... Morgana Le Fay. Of House of Fay.
Sorry.
Yeah, the ancient, the evil witch of Arthurian legend. She's real,
nearly said
baby.
Wizardess. I need to go to bed. I'm very tired.
Played by Jean Marsh, who is hamming it right up.
And she's fabulous.
She's great, and she's a proper kind of spoopy villain, because she sits comfortably in that realm of moo-ha-ha, but also they have a very strict code of honour and respect. So it's like, yes, she will summon, effectively, the devil to destroy you and everything around you, but she will wait until you are ready for battle, because it's unfair otherwise.
It's not honourable.
Yes, she's very big on honour, which of course she proves isn't really at her core later when she quite happily lets them have her son when they say they're going to kill him. She's like, yeah, do it.
Yeah, go for it, matey.
Her son, of course, was in Mordred.
But
he was fun. He was proper kind of... You
said
he looks like Loki. Like, yeah, he's still got the Hiddleston hair.
Yeah. But
the greasy, slicked back thingy and then the armour and everything.
But they couldn't quite cope on their own unit, could they? So they needed a bit of assistance.
They needed some expertise from someone who dealt with alien and weird shiz before.
An old friend.
They called someone out of retirement, and you did not know this until we were about to watch the story. It was like the night before. I was like, "Do you know who's in this?" Because we had a bit of a crappy day. It was like, I just want to let you know.
Didn't really want to.
Well, no, it was the day before.
I wasn't quite prepared for Doctor Who to finish.
Yeah,
so I was a bit like, no, let's drag out a little bit so we've got more to watch.
And then I went, do you know who's in this next one?
And then I looked at the cover and I was like, get it on, get it on.
Not Chris's favourite character, probably of the entire run so far, right? Would you say he's your favourite character of the show so far?
You know what, he might be.
Outside, because I think the Doctor sort of is in a different category, aren't they? But like.
The Doctor's their own.
Outside of the lead, would you say the Brigadier is your favourite character?
Yeah.
So, talk us through what's going on with the Brigadier. Who's Doris?
Doris is his wife.
Yeah.
They were buying a tree.
He mentioned before that they'd broken up back in, I think, Pertwee's run. And then because in this the Doctor remarks, she got you in the end. It's like, oh,
they live in an amazing house.
Well, to be fair, if you're a retired brigadier of the British forces working for the United Nations,
he keeps his garden very nice.
He's big on garden. Well, he complains about it, but he's obviously very proud of it.
But
they were buying a tree.
He's retired from teaching. He's retired from being.
I like how they throw a little continuity nod in there as well. The whole like. I sort of miss it. What, teaching? It's like, no, not the teacher. And you're like, like in the modern undead, he was a teacher. He's got his tash back, full time now. Full time tash. And he's got what we like to affectionately refer to as the grandad bod.
Do you know what? He's still so cute.
The sort of the round cartoon tummy that one gets with a certain age that isn't pudgy, isn't squishy. It's a cartoon silhouette of a tummy. And by God, he wears it well. So Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart. Nicholas Courtney is as wonderful as ever. It's so good to see him.
Nicholas Courtney is a national treasure and should always be referred to as such.
Yeah, he may no longer be with us.
Which I'm pretty devastated
but
about.
He should always be with us.
But he should be with us.
If anyone
Somebody find him.
So anyone out there could do black magic.
Turn him into a Cyberman.
Superman?
Yeah.
Is that like a Superman?
No, it's a Cyberman.
No, don't do that. Oh, wait. They did that.
They did.
Anyway. That review coming in about 2 years' time. Hey.
So they call him in. He gets in a helicopter. Funnily enough, in the helicopter, none of the clouds move around them. That was strange.
Oh, in all the cockpit shots, yeah. in all the static conversations. She was great as well, that unit soldier who he flew with. And then she gets unceremoniously killed off and turned to dust!
Yeah. She
that was
gets
so
obliterated, essentially.
Yeah. She
doesn't get obliterated, she gets faded into...
Well, she turns to dust. She's dust on the floor, isn't she?
Yeah.
That was horrible. And you've got there's lots of lovely little quirky things in this one. You have the tavern, which obviously talks about the stuff nearby, and they've got like the scabbard that's there, the wife of the owner, she's blind, she can kind of feel it there, as though there's like a person there.
Yeah.
And the Doctor like touches it and it's hot, and then it's freezing cold a second later. It's like, whoa! This story though, it's like alternate dimension. They don't ever go like, no, the explanation is this. No, what they're really doing is this. They just go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is probably for the first time the only story that is flat out just like magic, sure, whatever. Well, we got a bit of it in Silver Nemesis with Lady Penfort and her squire like using a potion to get to modern day. But now we've learned that they may have had some assistance from something, but we'll get to that in a couple stories' time. Now we know.
But
Excalibur, sea serpent, like cartoon graphics that like leap around and punch you in the face to protect the ship. Remember that thing zipping around?
Oh, the snake thing?
Yeah, sea serpent, yeah. Well, whatever it was meant to be.
Snaky sea snake.
A snake.
So a snake.
A snake, yeah.
Ace pulls Excalibur. That was awesome.
Super casually out of the thing. It's like, oh my god.
She nearly... No, it's not that one, is it?
Yeah, she nearly drowns.
But yeah, she nearly drowns, yeah.
But in real life, Sophie Aldred nearly got electrocuted along with a bunch of the crew. Because the window cracked.
And it wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, hot damn.
And it's like leaking everywhere.
But that is a really tense cliffhanger. Like even without knowing the actual real life danger.
And the doctor got knocked out somehow.
The fact that they had to cut around an actual near death experience for other people on set to make that footage work. So no wonder it feels terrifying.
Yeah.
The
doctor got knocked out for some reason.
Or the snack smacked him in the face because it was zipping around like
snack.
It was like Cyclops' eye beams. It was just zipping around punching things with its face.
And then he mysteriously woke up again pretty much straight after. So that was lucky.
So that was fun. But yeah, so ultimately Morgaine wants Excalibur for world domination-y reasons, and they've got like a conduit thing set up in the barn near the inn and whatnot. Well, it's a bit further down the road, isn't it? Mm. But the way it was shot, it made it look like it was around the corner. So it's the Doctor versus Morgana Le Fay to stop her getting Excalibur.
They've met before.
Well,
they think they've met.
She's met him before.
Yeah.
With a different face. Yeah. Because Mordred, he's the one who's like, no, I recognise. No, not Mordred. Sorry, it's the I can't remember his name now, but the good guy, the last knight.
He looks different, but his eyes are the same, or something like that.
Yeah, was it Anselin? Was that his name? The knight who was on the good guy's side.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, we've met. Because who's the frickin' Doctor, Lou?
The Doctor is Merlin.
Doctor's mother-loving Merlin.
I thought, do you know what I was just going to say? Sylvester McCarthy. I thought that's what you were asking me.
Bugger. So, like, and Ace is like, wait, have you met it? And he's like, no. Not yet, I guess. So, that's still to come.
What?
Which is, but it's nice because he anticipates his own, or her own, or their own, based on which incarnation it ends up being. Presumably a man, because they all seem to at least sort of be like, yes, we know him. Mm. So, but we know it's he obviously going forward from this point thinks about how he'd help himself now. Because there's a couple of little things that he uses as shortcuts, which absolutely work. Because he's like, well, of course I'd do it that way. So, like, getting into the hub of the ship, like the big sort of giant piranha mouth, like, doorway. And he just goes, open up, it's me! And it opens up. And he's just like, how did you know? It's like, well, I set it, apparently. That's how I do it. So, yeah.
Hilarious.
And then at the end, where they find out, the sleeping Arthur by his sword, like the legend, but this time in a spaceship underneath the water. Yeah, he ain't asleep. He's dead.
He did.
He died thousands of years ago, possibly.
He did.
And inside his helmet is a note from the Doctor saying, yeah, don't worry about it. You sorted it. Well, the note from Merlin saying, don't worry, you sorted it. By the way, you need to get up top because Morgana's about to release nuclear Armageddon. Go, go, go. It's like, all right. So he cheats a little and leaves like you better go now. Which I think is quite funny. There's a lot of action in this. There's a lot of action.
A lot of running.
Bit of jousty, stabby, swordy. But there's a few of the highlights we've not even touched on yet. Namely, the Destroyer.
Oh.
Frickin' a continuation of this era's love of animatronic use and clever kind of puppetry. Mm-hmm. The Destroyer is like the template for every freaking demon on Buffy in my mind. Like it's like someone watched that and then went.
Satan.
Well, I'm trying to remember if it isn't season 2 of Buffy. The Judge.
I know what you mean.
The like 7 foot tall blue guy looks sort of like Darth Maul.
Yeah.
It looks like these two were probably related and went for coffee and caught up every now and again and asked how each of the other kids are doing.
Went for mead. Blood of the innocent.
Because we don't find out what the Destroyer is, ultimately.
No.
We just assume that it's a freaking demon.
Well, I think it is a demon, because she brought it out.
But in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's
don't think about it.
Well, that's what I like about it, because, like, you know, Sutekh and everything, like, we learn that, actually, these guys, the Egyptian gods, they came from Mars. They were a completely different race, and, you know, this, that, and the other, and they just landed when they did. You know, there's only a few times Doctor Who goes, there's no explanation. And the Doctor takes it as, well, fair enough.
Well, that's my life.
Yeah, because so many other incarnations would be like, no, that's bullshit. Come on, what's happening? What's really going on here? Mm. But McCoy's Doctor he's such a little trickster in that I think he respects sometimes there's just stuff he's not going to know, and he's like, oh well, okay, moving on. that's one highlight. Another highlight is all the action. Shed load of explosions in this one.
Yeah.
Good God, there are a lot of explosions.
People do backflips.
Helicopters blowing up, castles blowing up. But also the return of another old friend. Because when unit on the Brigadier's instructions, the OG Brigadiers start to arrive, they find a mode of transportation that he thought the Doctor might want to use to get from place to place. We get the final appearance of Bessie! Yay! It's not just the Brig, it's Bessie as well, which made me very happy.
And the license plate says Who 7.
Yes, which is a nice little touch. And I love the way that Ace is really taking the Ace and oh god, who's the lady she joins up with? Oh, Xiao Yung.
Whoa, excuse me.
They take the piss out of this old roadster, really rail on it and take the mick, and then later on, like them and Doris and the new Brigadier, just like bye. We're literally gonna go out.
We're on a girly night.
Get drunk, go and have something nice to eat, and then we'll come back. No, so we're going to get drunk, have a little drive around, then we're going to come back, and you better have something nice cooked.
Yeah.
To which we find out.
Goes, what about supper?
Yeah, it's just like, oh yes, well, just have it ready for when we get back.
Have something tasty ready for us.
Yeah, which I thought was quite fun. And I like the fact the Doctor's just like, I'll cook. Like, yeah, alright, I'll sort that out.
I'd like to see the Doctor cook.
Yeah, I don't think we have yet, have we?
No.
What else? It's also just nice to see the Brigadier with another incarnation. So we've seen him interact
he
with...
doesn't even question that.
Yeah, he's just like, I bloody knew it'd be you. I knew it'd be you. There you are. Good to see you again. And also, this is a Doctor who's immediately warm to him. He's just like, oh, Brigadier.
Oh, such a cutie.
This is great.
And he nearly died.
He does. He goes to make the sacrifice play.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he doesn't, because it does mean that semi-officially we will see him again very soon. And full-on officially, we will see him one more time in the most wonderful bloody spin-off of this show ever made. So the Brigadier is not gone, but this is his last appearance in Doctor Who, the series.
I just want to say, I love the Brigadier.
He's bloody great. And I can't wait for us to get to 30 years of the TARDIS, because I think I'd be happy to see more Nick Courtney.
I just love him. And I'm so sad that he's no longer with us.
Yeah. Do you remember, we won't go into full detail, because maybe one day we'll make a version of it, but Guy and I were trying to figure out that, like, parody thing. And specifically there was going to be a scene for Nicholas Courtney where he's just getting drunk in the bar, where the characters meet briefly. He's just there he orders 5 rounds of rapid. Because of course he does. So
hilarious.
5 shots for Nicholas Courtney, everyone, of water if you're not of age to drink.
Of a brew.
Well, Ace gets stuck in that story for sure, into the action. But she really has a work cut out for her in this one. Carrying on from last series, The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, Ghostlight sees the Doctor pushing Ace into facing her fears yet again. Now, I forgot to mention it, I'd never seen Battlefield before this week. I hadn't watched it yet, so that was new for me.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen, beyond, bits and pieces of it, I'd never seen Ghostlight before. I'd seen Fenric and Survival. So watching this was interesting for me, because this was the last gap I had out of the ones that are available. Yes, a few have been animated since we started this series. Yes,
we
will get to them, but we're talking much further down the line. It's going to be like a bonus video, like mid-modern era, so you're going to have to wait for those ones. But
2027.
Yeah. So for in the meantime, this is the last bit of old Who I had not seen, and now I've seen it. Ghostlight.
Well, have you technically now seen all of Doctor Who?
All of what's available to see, yeah.
What?
Again, the comment section, I'm talking about finished programmes as broadcast.
Yeah.
Not recons, not animations. I mean, there's 3 animations I've not seen, which I've just referred to without naming them. But yeah, with Ghostlight, that's it. I have now seen
the main
everything that you can buy on DVD that is complete. That isn't the animations that have come out since.
Yeah.
With Ghostlight, I've now seen them all.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Name every single one in order.
Alright, Unearthly Child, the Daleks.
No, I'm joking, stop. Okay. I know you can actually do it.
What, original names or broadcast names?
Each individual story.
10,000 years BC.
I bet you
Ghost
could do
Light.
it, ladies and gentlemen.
I probably couldn't. I used to be able to name all 151 Pokemon. But you know what else I used to be able to do? Do videos without going off on tangents.
Sorry.
Ghost Light. The Doctor takes Ace back to a house that, when she was a kid, we learned throughout the story that there was a creepy house in Perryvale. It used to freak her out a lot.
Is Perryvale an actual place?
I don't know. You look that up, boy. Sum up the story.
Okay.
Hey.
Oh, sorry, Min.
I mean,
absolutely elbow.
I have the story thingy page up, so I could probably just click 2 links and get there. But let's race to Perryvale, shall we? You ready? Perryvale is real. It's an area of Greater London, west of Charing Cross. There we go.
Well,
there we are.
that answers that question.
So Ace went to this creepy house. It was her version of the Kneebolt house, basically. And later on in the story, we learn the real reason why she's terrified of there. And it's not just because it's a spooky old house. It's because she fled there on the night a friend of hers got murdered by, it's implied, a bunch of racists in the local area. And she feels extra guilty because in rage she burnt down this house.
Yeah.
So the Doctor...
She felt it was just evil.
Yeah, but now we know it's probably mostly out of just the fear she was feeling, but there was something there. The Doctor takes them back to, essentially, without Ace knowing it at first, the point in that house's history when it was last fully occupied. You know, people living in it. We meet different characters, most of which are like evolutionary theorists or scientists, or indeed skeptics. Like one of them is a priest, and you know, you realise, oh, it's a house of science. It's about like the evolutionary chain. The main guy here collects like moths and catalogues them along the walls. He also collects like beetles and spiders in these drawers, and there's a policeman in that drawer. Wait, what?
What?
Turns out, hey, evolution is on the menu in this big old house. We have a spaceship way beneath the foundations. We have a Neanderthal gentleman with obviously evolved speech and
in a suit.
Functions in a suit, acting as like the main butler. After 6 p.m, pre 6 p.m, there's basic staff that look after the house, and then they leave.
They leave quickly.
After 6 p.m, there's like either very well trained or cloned or brainwashed maids who are just there to like.
They just come out of the walls.
Fuel that, yeah, literally out of a cabinet.
Yeah.
And
the
lady, the lady of the house and her daughter, we believe, are just sort of there working on behalf of the main guy. I'll have to bring his name up because I don't forget it. Josiah Smith. We think that they're working for him, but they're not. He's her brother and the younger one's uncle. Except it's not really him anymore. It's like him 0.5. And every night, essentially, everybody in the staff is just sort of put in like a trance state and left there in the separate rooms, and no one interferes with them. And then at 6 p.m, boom, they come back out and function. Because he's playing around with evolution. Why? Because he's got access to this alien technology in the basement. This alien technology which is being, at first we think, used to imprison, but it turns out, it's actually meant to be looked after by Control, played by Sharon Deuce, who I think is having the most fun in this.
Yeah. Well, she kind of evolves as the story goes along.
Well, the first couple of episodes, you're like, is this going to be a story about this horrid ghost woman that's in the basement?
In the basement, yeah.
And it's like,
which,
no,
I've got to say...
turns out, she is a good guy.
That would have been a really cool storyline. I'm not gonna lie.
This and Fenric both have the same flaws, in that the last episode does a lot of work to suddenly explain everything.
It takes a long time to get to the point.
And yet everything in the run-up to that last episode, like, the last episode is still interesting, but everything in the run-up to it is a completely different type of interesting.
Yeah.
Turns out what's really going on is he's forcing evolution and doing evolution experiments on people. Like the vicar ends up like half turned into a prehistoric sort of monkey, and he's in a case.
With a banana.
Nimrod, who is the butler, is the Doctor surmises. Yeah, he's not. It's not someone who's like been devolved or anything. He's from the era he looks like he is from, and he's just been brought to this point.
Yeah.
Control is not some scary thing living in the basement. She's the one thing stopping Josiah's secret from being revealed. which is that he is faffing around with evolution for his own gain, his own need, because he wants to overthrow the British Empire and run things himself using the power of this machinery. It's implied he's alien.
Yeah, but it's not.
But
Confirmed.
even if we don't know if he's alien, he's definitely not human anymore because he's been evolving different stages. We see 2 different versions of him in the spaceship basement. One's a reptilian and one's like a fly.
Ooh.
So it's obviously he's been doing different stuff. Like one version of him deteriorates throughout the story, and then just remains sat in the chair as an empty husk, whilst a fresh, younger version of him is now walking around.
So there's loads of versions of him.
Yeah, well, I think the implication's meant to be that like another one materialises eventually as he evolves, because the others are dead, but they still can move if he wants them to.
What?
Like he can make them move. He can make them move with his mind.
Or are they like shells? You know, like
yeah, but they still
like a skin.
they still shift around because like the 2 in the basement attack and then
really
the one upstairs like grabs the
they're in suits.
grabs the priest.
Oh yeah,
no, grabs the inspector.
Yeah.
And holds him still because they revived the inspector who's basically been put in suspended animation. He came from Scotland Yard 2 years prior, and they didn't want to uncover anything, so they just kind of like knocked him out and put him in suspended animation in a drawer. Yeah, well, he wakes up and has a voracious appetite, and obviously he feels like he's only just arrived there. He doesn't seem to realise anything's wrong.
Is he alright at the end?
I think so. Yeah, you've got the big game hunter who's been onto him the whole time, who has seen a light. The opening of the story is really spooky.
Yeah, it is.
Ace is terrified. The set decoration's great, and you absolutely are like, yeah, you love big spooky houses.
Love them.
You wouldn't live in this big spooky house.
Probably would.
Okay, you're big and spooky. It's...
Well, you call it big.
Oh, you call it spooky?
Hey, yo!
Hey, yo,
Who you calling it big? Spooky man.
Spooky boy with your big spooks. It's freaky, and it's the lighting, the direction, they really play into how unnerving the whole thing can be. The longer it goes on, the more camp starts to enter it, and it doesn't ruin it, but it's like, oh, I almost wish it was just creepy throughout.
Yeah.
But they sort of offset the lack of creepiness with the increase of campness by upping the stakes and the death toll in that last episode, as we are essentially dealing with an omnipotent, like, godlike creature at this point in the form of Light, played by John Hallam. We learn that the mysterious light that drove the hunter insane, and the thing that's sort of been helping aid, the power of aid with all the evolutionary stuff, is a creature called Light, one of a race that essentially millions of years ago catalogued the universe. They went around, they're like Time Lords meets Watchers meets admin. They went around and charted what was on every planet, made a note of it. By the time this one had finished surveying Earth, with Control by its side, things had started to change already.
Yeah,
the primordial soup had evolved, and like by the time they'd finished the entire planet, Nimrod's people existed.
Yeah.
So Nimrod was taken as like, right, I'm going to look at this. And that's how Nimrod exists, because he was in suspended animation in the ship this whole time. And Light is freaking out and doesn't really know what to do. So is effectively put into hibernation to process everything. And when it gets back out during this story, he looks like Peter Cook and Liberace had a baby in a glitter ball.
Yeah.
It's really strange. Yeah. And suddenly it goes from a ghost story to a story where there is a god just hanging out in the house going, this is wrong. Your species should not have been developing. I need to figure out what to do. I've been asleep too long. So he turns 2 characters into primordial soup.
Yeah, literally.
We see a severed arm at one point.
Yeah. As
he's like dissecting one of the mains.
He wanted to see what it looked like on the inside or something.
Yeah. Creepy. So camp, but creepy. He realises that what he needs to do is stop evolution, at least, so he can work. So when, what do you call it? Just checking out the names. Mrs. Pritchard and Gwendolyn are finally out of their mesmerism, and they've come to their senses after Gwendolyn's tried to beat the piss out of Ace a bunch in the episode. We'll leave her alone. She's smash
She was
her.
actually throwing herself at her. It was...
Now that they've kind of come to and they've realised like their mother and daughter and things are weird and what the hell has been going on, Light shows up and just turns them to stone. She's like, yeah, gotta stop evolution. There we go.
I mean,
How can life evolve if I stop all life? And then he figures out even further what he's going to do next. Revert everything back to the primordial soup.
and it was actual soup in a bowl thing, wasn't it? That he ladled.
Don't eat it. And then it's like, oh my god, oh my god,
It's people.
it's the policeman. It's that is grim.
Oh, so
I
the
enjoy-
policeman didn't make it then.
No, he gets him. You remember he put like his hand on his head and he started screaming and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, I said to you before, does he make
'Cause
it? And you
the
were like,
police-
yeah, I think so.
The policeman's in the primordial soup. It's turned back into primordial soup, and the maid that he zaps in the hallway. She's the one who's cutting up and examining. So this is horrific.
Making a meal.
But yeah, the beauty of this one is the revelation about Ace. Not only that she looks really dashing in a suit, but also
she does.
that so much of who she is, so much of her rebellious streak, so much of her lashing out and acting out is to run away from the fact she doesn't want to confront these horrible things she's gone through. She claims she doesn't have any parents because they apparently treat her like crap, and she's run away from them and left them. We find out in this, like we say, it's sort of implied her friend is killed in a hate crime, and then she takes out her anger and fear on this old house and burns it to the ground. It's like she's dealing with a lot, and she's not confronting it. It's like almost like the doctor's preparing her for something. He's getting to face every possible fear. I wonder what that is. We'll never find out because the show doesn't carry on. But we know from Andrew Cartmel, script editor, and things that have been said since that there were plans for Ace, and maybe we'll talk about them in a video. We talked about them a little bit, but there's more. Ace has 3 different continuities based on which one you want to believe. I think my favourite is the Sarah Jane Adventures. I can't remember what it's called. The book that Sophie Aldred wrote last year, but that's my version of the Ace continuity. I find that one to be the most sort of
wholesome.
Wholesome, but also satisfying for me. Because the other 2 involve her dying, and one involves her becoming a Time Lord. Anyway, so Ghostlight. What do you think? That was alright.
Yeah, it was alright.
Some really cool stuff in it.
It twists at the end, and you're a bit like, oh, what?
It's not bad. It's just a lot.
Yeah.
In 20 minutes, it's suddenly a lot of stuff
a
happens.
big cake, and they added a whole other layer on top of it.
Yeah.
That kind of drowned the rest of it out.
Well, speaking of drowning,
Whoa!
what happens in the Curse of Fenric, boy?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Hey, yo, who you calling spooky?
When are we?
World War II.
We're a coastal town who've come aboard on a secret mission, who've come ashore.
The Russians.
Russians who
Don't know why I said that to the French accents.
who are allegedly allies at this point of Britain, but clearly
we don't know that yet.
the political allegiances are all very apparently going to shift at the opportune moment.
Yes.
And as such, this lot have come ashore to do what? Remember what they're there to do?
They're there to... Oh, God, what was it? Get the machine.
Yes, it's a Northumberland at Maiden's Point. It's an Ultima supercomputer created by Dr. Judson. And it's used it's essentially a decoder. It's a translator and decoder. Yeah, it's used to translate the Germans' coded messages, give them an advantage. They have suspicions, specifically Commander Millington has suspicions that the Russians are going to take this and use it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're setting a trap.
Yeah.
They want the Russian agents to come and nick it, because then, well, we'll get to that. Meanwhile, Russians aren't the only things travelling in from the water. Something's stirring. What is it? What is it, son?
Well, What's it called? Maiden's Point.
Yeah.
Maiden's Point. There's like tales of the water being dangerous, and it steals women who've got naughtiness on their mind or something, whatever. And
Nothing like the fear of God.
yeah, oh, jeez. And the currents like are so powerful they like take you away. But it's actually should I just say it out loud?
Yeah.
It's just water vampires.
Space vampires from the future living in the water. Hemivores.
Davy Jones' crew. You know.
Yes. Yeah.
Coralie and.
They look like they're part of the ship. Part
Barnacle.
of the crew. You know.
Tentacle. Part of the ship. Part of the crew.
But not just that. That's not the only thing going on. Because we also have to deal with, I'm trying to remember his name, what the hell is it called? Oh my goodness. Quick, Vamp.
The good thing about these vampires...
Fenric, it's in the freaking title. Sorry, go on.
You, Wally. Is that the way to ward them off and kind of defeat them or push them back is having faith.
Yeah, look, proper vampire stuff.
But not necessarily religious faith. It's having faith in something.
Well, Nicholas Parsons is the Reverend Wainwright, and he's losing faith in God because of the in
war.
heat of the Second World War in his lifetime, and he's like, I don't know, and the two girls who are converted sort of take advantage of that to approach him.
Oh, it's an interesting theory actually because interesting perspective because he is losing faith because of the bombs, but not the bombs that are being dropped on the UK. The ones that the UK are dropping on, like Germany.
He's like, we're no better than the enemy in some respects.
Killing
is what he's
innocent children.
His church is a great location. We get to explore it because we learn that Maiden's Point has sort of got history from the Viking time, Nordic mythology is sort of woven throughout there. I mean, for Christ's sake, the alien in this is called Fenric, so come on. And runes appear like over time because we're getting closer to the moment Fenric will be released. Fenric is an ancient being of immense psychic power that has a link with the Hemivores, or the Hemivore that started all what's going on. Faith can affect the power of the Hemivores, but Fenric's not so easily swayed. However, Fenric has apparently been bested before in a sort of trope that has lived throughout the last two series in particular. This is yet another, the Doctor set up a thing once upon a time, and it has to be resolved now. Although he didn't know exactly that's what. Like, he knew that they had to go here, and he was also aware of some other secrets abound here.
Do you reckon the Doctor's got to write all these down?
I don't know, he's a bit of a chess player. Which is literally how he defeated Fenric the last time.
No,
they got stuck in a stalemate, and Fenric was somehow put away and defeated because the Doctor managed to, put him in check and he couldn't figure a way out. And then we learn that Fenric has actually been very gently swaying the last two series worth of the show.
I didn't really understand that.
His machinations have subtly led to Ace being here to this point. And the reason being, as far as I can tell, because I'm very tired, as far as I can tell...
he's the one that sent that time scoop.
Yeah, he's the reason she's there in the first place. I'll try and see what the succinct summary for it is.
Pretty sure it's called a time scoop.
Yeah,
Definitely called a time scoop.
Yeah, Ace is one of Fenric's pawns, as it was he that created the time storm that transported to the alien colony Ice World. Furthermore, by saving Kathleen and Audrey, because it's one of the ladies in the communication thing, and her daughter Audrey, tiny baby, she assured the cycle remains unbroken, because Audrey grows up to become Ace's mum. So ultimately, Fenric is all about leading people into traps and setting things up, and it seems that with his vast mental ability, he knew it would get to this point. And it's all about leading things a certain way. Faith plays a big part because any psychic hold or violent hold that the Hemivore could have to kill Ace in that moment on Fenric's behalf is shattered when her faith in the Doctor is completely destroyed. Allowing the Hemivore to just be right, I'm going to concentrate on you now and take Fenric out. Because, we learn of like the stuff underground, that like potent poison, and it all ties into Norse mythology, like the well and all this stuff. It's like, what the hell? Because that's what Commander Millington wants to do. He's laced this stuff inside the Ultima's core, which when the Russians take it back, and a certain word is used, and he says it's going to be the word love, because there's nothing more poetic than killing your enemies with love.
Oh.
When the word love is translated, when the Russians inevitably take it back and use it to translate British transmissions, it will trigger off a bomb that will effectively wipe out Moscow. Like, a poison bomb that will kill everybody in the capital. It's like, oh my god! Completely proving Reverend Wainwright correct.
Mm-hmm.
What's cool about this one? Hit me.
The vampires are cool.
It's good makeup.
Yeah.
We especially like the one that the colour was a little more skin coloured and it just looked like a lady with very large lip fillers and a bit of blue around her lips.
That was just like something from SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yes! Oh, it's a great description.
We paused it and rewound it a few times.
It was funny.
I really like the setting, it being in World War II. I think it was a really, really, really interesting story.
Like a World War II story that's not in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Like, they're always quite interesting because we meet evacuees, it's a quiet village.
Coastal town, yeah.
Yeah.
I like...
We get to see the war effort at home.
Yeah.
With the women working in the communications department and you know, signalling and transmission. And the young soldiers kind of training. The young Russian soldiers.
Yeah, and
who were like
and them joining
kind of half
together.
torn as well because they're there on a mission because they've been told to go and do that mission.
But they join together, join forces to defeat the evil, and
Comrade.
It's like,
yeah.
Oh, that's cute. It doesn't really last for the whole war, but you know, good effort.
These guys are doing the right thing.
Yeah, I thought all the different tangents of story met really well. I think they're like the Norse stuff and the like translating the codes and things like that. I thought it was all really, really interesting. Even though I didn't quite at the time get the thing with Ace.
Impractical nails.
Yeah, they couldn't cope with those nails.
The Hemivore claws look like believable because they all were kind of messed up anyways. They were all coming out of the sea. But like the two girls just kind of like walking around like this all the time, not really knowing what to do with their hands. Just made me think, wow. And yet people get nails like that now. And it's kind of weird that that's a thing.
If it gets to a point where you cannot pull your trousers up, then what are you doing? What are you doing? I never have long nails, and mine are a little bit longer than they normally would be. And I'm already struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just over my fingertips.
Could blow the ends off with some Nitro 9.
Yeah.
That'd do it.
Yeah. Oh my god.
When...
I don't know if anybody saw Mid's face then, but she had a smushed face. That's a nap face, that. What are you doing?
Where are you going, Min?
What are you doing?
Go that way.
That's not going to work.
There you go.
There you go, you idiot.
So Ace, we see sort of the hang-ups with her mum again when like she finds out the baby that she's like, oh, I got a baby, yay! And she finds out the baby's called Audrey, and she's immediately like, yeah, no, take her back. Take her back.
I hate that name.
And yeah, but again, like the last story was about like her childhood and a horrible thing that happened to a friend. This one we really learn about like her disconnect with her mum. In fact, she despised her.
It kind of went off on one that, you know, she'd one day like to get married, and she was kind of flirting with the Russian commander.
I mean, she wasn't flirting with him to go off on it. I don't think that was going to be a plot to go on.
It seemed like it might have been.
But there's definitely the idea of like she's travelled. I think it's to establish that because she's travelled more and she's not a rebellious little teenager.
Excuse me.
You know, either in Perivale or on bloody, you know, the Ice World, Dragonfire shop, you know, alien cafe thing. She's developing more than she thought she would. She thought she was, I'm going to be this, and I'm going to be this forever, and that's me, and I'm great. And now she's like, actually, I kind of like the idea of settling down one day. And it's like, okay, you're different. So, yeah. And then by the end, like, just having to confront the idea that maybe the Doctor's been fibbing to her. And he hasn't. He just, you know... He still keeps things from her just enough. Like not telling her that they're going to the house, like not telling her that he'd figured out that that was her mum. But it's all in aid of because everything he's done is for her to learn something more about herself and face something herself that she'd not done.
I think it feels kind of strange and quite intense, purely because we don't find out what happens after it.
Yeah. It sort of shows that this incarnation is manipulative. We've seen him be manipulative. We've seen him lead his own enemies into their deaths and their own destruction. We've seen what comes of him having time to plan a long game. We've seen what happens when a future incarnation relies on this one in their personal past to deal with more gain and stuff. Like, they've obviously gone, that version of me, he can deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of interesting to see that he's also very manipulative of his friend. Not in the same way, but still kind of like, come on, Doc. Surely there's a better way of doing this. Like you said, without the resolution, we don't really get to see this. I've been preparing you for this.
Yeah.
But we do kind of get the sense that he's, been a bit of a dick. Really. Doesn't make you hate the incarnation, because Sylvester plays him so well.
Yeah.
He's so lovable. But he challenges Ace one last time, kind of. She chooses to go, and he goes along with it. Back to Perryvale. In her time, in the late 80s, a little bit after she left, long enough that her old friends assumed that she had moved to a different town or died or something. In Survival, what happened in Survival, my dude?
She wants to go back to Perivale to see her mates, and
Oh, actually, real quick, I'm so sorry. We didn't talk about how good the Hemivore costume and puppet looked at the end, like the full-blown Hemivore. With his blinky eyes and his big pointy piranha teeth.
I don't remember what it looked.
The one that Fenric was dealing with, the one who was like, he looked like a big fish, like gill man. He had his gills and his big.
Oh yeah,
that was amazing.
Yeah, because like little tentacles were moving and its eyes were blinking.
I just wanted to bring that up because that was a cool animatronic, and this one also opens with another animatronic. Carry on. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, Ace wants to go to Paris to see her mates, and she gets there, and people are starting to like missing.
For a good year or so, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
on and
people
off.
are just assuming that they're just leaving.
Because Perivale's a shithole, so everyone's just buggering off.
They've got a bit of a pest problem.
A little animatronic pest problem.
Yeah, it's a little animatronic that might have been used in a 90s kids show.
It's not.
No, I know it's not.
Salem is miles above this cat.
Yeah,
no, this cat looks good. This cat looks good.
It does.
But it is a bit hilarious
There's
when
an evil
it
cat.
turns its little animatronic head and goes...
And I'm just
You're like, oh my god.
It's a bit creepy. I mean, if you saw that in a bush, I would vacate the area quite rapidly.
What would you do if you saw that in a bush?
I would poo.
Yeah. So, what's this cat
Jokes
got to
that only we understand.
What's this cat got to do with the disappearances, y'all?
It's watching people and somebody seeing through it.
A mysterious
Sorry,
character.
seeing things through the cat. I mean, not actually just like looking through the cat.
A mysterious character whose voice is altered and their eyes are shot Dracula style and they've got contacts in and the shadow work is done to brilliant effect to mask who it is. Until, like, the third shot where it's pulled out just enough that you can see their silhouette and you're like, that's Anthony Ainley.
Yeah, that's you know exactly straight away that it's Master.
Now, I think had they kept on that close shot...
Even then you could tell it was a Master.
No, but if you were a kid who, like, didn't,
if you'd not seen
you
him for
you
4
wouldn't
years.
have seen him for, like, 3-4 years, yeah. And as always, like, on broadcast, they never put, like, in the TV listings, the Master. Oh, because they always like that surprise of him arriving, like, either they use, oh god, what's it called? Where you jumble the letters around. Anagram? No.
Yeah, anagram.
No. Well, nom de plume. They always give him a fake name using the letters of the actor's or the character's name.
Yeah.
And it just he is a reveal. He is the reveal at the end of episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just sort of like, oh, that's the Master.
Well, that's all.
That being said, were you sad to see him?
No.
It's freaking great. He's Anthony Ainley, panto villain extraordinaire.
Yay.
Except in this, really playing it down in this, because for the first time ever, I think we've met the Master at a complete disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
Like even rotting Master was in the middle of a scheme each time.
Crispy Master.
Crispy Master was in the middle of sorting something, laying down foundations for a plan. Whereas now, he's trapped on a goddamn cheetah world covered in cat people in Planet of the Apes style, but cat version costumes, riding horses.
Well, a horse. There was only one.
Oh, no, there's two at one point.
Was there? Oh, there was
we got two horses.
Two horses. Oh, yeah, of course there was, yeah.
Can't use cars on film. Gotta use horses. So, Simpsons. Yeah. You look at me there like, I think I know what you're talking about.
What is the doctor? What are you doing?
So, the Master's trapped on this world, and like all the peoples who have lived there before, is succumbing to its wiles. The longer you spend there, the more feral you become.
Yeah.
But because he's got a very strong will, he's able to sort of hold it back, and even tap into sort of the pride like nature of the species. So he's got the settlement. He's seen as, if not the leader, because he makes it look like that's how he's seen, but it looks more like he's just sort of the pack leader, and his position is there because he gets them food, which is what the little cat is. It's all about the hunt on this world. This world's existed for eons, and it has slowly degraded to the point where the planet is about to explode. Like the sort of primal rage of it all is about to destroy this planet. Like the species do not have long, which is why the smaller cats, which were bred by the old society, they were created by the people who used to live there, have developed the ability to teleport off-world to find food and bring it back.
Yeah. Because
there is nothing left. And the Master just so happens to have hold of one that goes to Earth. And is stalking Perivale. Why? Because he wants to get the Doctor's attention. Because he knows that if he faffs around with somewhere on Earth, eventually the Doctor will find out about it and investigate.
So petty.
And it makes you wonder how much of a tab he's been keeping on the Doctor in this incarnation as well.
Or how much of a tabby.
Yeah.
Cat.
Because he recognises instantly, he's sort of like, that's the Doctor. Do you know what I mean? There's no kind of throwaway comment of I see you. No change. It's just boom. So yeah, Ace's mates, some of them are still there, some of them have died. Mm-hmm. It's pretty spooky. It's freaky how it goes. And another character that gets taken across is what the hell's his name now?
He's like a colonel or something.
Is Patterson his name? Yes. Yeah, he's like an ex-military man who now sort of teaches at the local social club.
Community
centre, and he teaches them self-defence, and it's all about survival of the fittest, which is the theme of the story. And of course he's shite at what he does. But how can they get back home? What's the logic?
They have to... I don't really know.
Well, do you remember with the black cat, the whole point is it can teleport away.
But it has to
get prey, and then it brings the prey home.
So it has
to want to
go home.
The moment you have to be, the moment you start to change, and of course, the weaker will change quicker. So in this case, what's his name? Midge. Midge starts to change and transform soonest. The Master uses that, he literally tackles it. He dominates him. He tackles him, puts a leash on him, and then tells him to go home. So Midge teleports off of the world.
You kind of run in a different direction and
you vanish. Yeah. So because basically what the Master wanted was for the Doctor to get here, corral enough of a disruption that the Master would manage to get someone infected and use them to leave, either to go back to Earth or presumably maybe Gallifrey if it was the Doctor or whatever. So it's okay, that's he's played a long game. He's been waiting here a while, but he's obviously scared. And Ainley plays it brilliantly. Really plays it down. He's I will not change. I will not. He's talking to himself and proper when he's in the quiet moments, he's coaxing himself. He's saying, "Don't do it. Don't fall for this."
Yeah.
It's wow, we've never really seen the Master this vulnerable. It's odd to see.
He talked himself out of being possessed by goosebumps.
Which Goosebumps opening titles thing was he? Was he the barking dog with the glowing eyes, or was he the sad billboard?
I would say he was the barking dog.
Yeah. So does that make Ace the sad billboard?
Yeah.
Because Ace starts to change, and she meets Kara, who's played by Lisa Barrowman. Hey, Betty Summerfield for the win. Who is a hunter who she's a lot more eloquent than the other cheetah people. Possibly she was, because I don't think they ever explain whether or not. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Whether or not the people that have gone and transformed have become cheetah people.
Well, I think that's assumed because she changes, doesn't she, at the end?
Who does? Oh, she changes back. Yes, you're right. Of course, yeah. In that case, it is explicitly said you don't need to write your comment. Yeah, so Kara is obviously like one of the more late, I guess, sort of more recently changed overall, because she
can recall life before.
Yeah, she can go back to Earth, but it's also it's not less the fact she's eloquent. She talks to Ace.
Yeah.
She really tries to coax Ace because Midge is infected, and Ace is infected, and it's that thing about running away from the things that bother you and the things that scare you, and it ties into sort of that subtle arc, this series of her facing her fears. Here she's given what she perceives to be an escape, but it's partially like her wanting to run away from everything that's ever troubled her and worried her and scared her and annoyed her and angered her, and partially the like psychic takeover that this planet is having on her. It's like, she's just like she wanted to run forever. Like, if I was to feel the like grass beneath my feet and just keep running.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, like you're going to turn into a goddamn were-cheetah. What's going on?
Oh, were-cheetah.
So, it's the stakes kind of, for such a sort of simple story with two locations, some suburbs in Perivale and the desert planet of the cheetah people, the stakes are quite high. Because one, if not more, of the main cast in this, out of our recurring main cast and the cast that are introduced in the story, could turn into a creature and die, or turn into a creature forever. I mean, even at the end when the Master... Because that's the thing, when the Master finally escapes, he doesn't just, like, nick the TARDIS and bugger off or anything.
It's the TARDIS.
He waits, because he's like, right, the Doctor's absolutely going to find a way to get back here, and then I'll kill him. Like, I'll use what I've got, this infection, long enough to kill him. And in the meantime, I'm going to screw around with him as well. So, like, he and Midge sort of... It's not explained whether it's the old Master touch-and-go hypnotism, or whether or not it's just sort of like the predatorial, like, the domination of the pack mentality.
Yeah.
But, like, all the lads at the gym, like, they kill the army bloke, and then they just take him over, and they're following him and Midge. Like, they steal motorbikes. There's a motorbike duel at one point, which results in Midge letting himself die because it proved that he was weak because he didn't win.
It was a bad game of chicken.
Yeah, and the Doctor just topples head over heels into a pile of crap on the side of the mountain with his arse in the air, which the Master walks over and is like, oh, I can see your cheeks, Doctor. He doesn't say that, but that's what he's thinking.
I can see your black hole. Sorry.
Oh, you're winking, Doctor.
No, what's disturbing is that your impression is too good, and it sounds like he's actually saying that, and I don't like it. It makes me feel uncomfortable.
Will you stop commenting on my rectum? Anyway, so...
No!
So their final confrontation... Because essentially Ace, to save herself, has to not fight. The more she gives into that, like, primal nature, the more she'll get infected. So, like, even when they're all charging at her and trying to kill her, the Doctor's like, don't fight them. Run away. Don't fight. So, that's terrifying. Imagine being told, don't attack them when all these people are coming at you to hurt you. Just run. Don't attack. When your most obvious instinct in that moment would be to just twat them and, like, try and get past them. It's like, no, don't. Like, good on her. Like, she fights through it and makes it out of the other side. Kara scares him off, and then she dies, and like you say, she fades back into human form, and then passes away. Midge unceremoniously kicks the bucket. But the Doctor and the Master, like, tackle, and the Master teleports him back to... Because they're both infected at this point, so even the Doctor is starting to get to him. and they're gonna like the Master's like throttling the Doctor, and then the Doctor's like smacking him around, and then he's gonna bludgeon the Master's head in with a rock, just kill him, and then he manages to resist because it's all about it's the whole idea of survival of the fittest. Violence is not the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Survival should not come at the cost of other people's lives. And also, Hale and Pace work at a shop for some reason. So there is that.
I don't know who they are.
For all the Hale and Pace fan out there watching this video, that's not to say they weren't popular or anything. They absolutely were, but like it's an obscure cameo.
Yeah.
Talking
about what were they talking about?
I don't know, but they're staring at the shelf, looking at the cat food, going, "There's one. There's another one. There's one. There's another one." Anyone who watched the 90s sketch show will get that. Everyone else, don't worry about it. So, the point is...
was that a thing?
It was. The Doctor gets back to Earth, Ace is fine. They've pushed through the infection, they walk away, and the Doctor delivers a popped-in later monologue that is wonderful, short, sweet, really nice, is full of the story goes on kind of vibes, and exists because they had suspicions that they were not coming back anytime soon. Survival wasn't the last story recorded. Ghostlight was the last one recorded.
Weird.
Yeah, well, things don't always record in sequence in TV.
That boggles me, that. I still can't get my head around it. I mean, it makes sense, but it just doesn't to me.
But it's sort of interesting that Survival ends up being the last one because Ace has sort of run a gauntlet this series. She's a better person, a stronger person for it. Sophie Aldred has absolutely proved herself to be one of the most versatile actors to play a companion in the show by this point.
Mm-hmm.
Sylvester has completely scrubbed away any doubts from the more clownish first series that he is everything the Doctor needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
The new costume, a subtle change, just a darker jacket and longer scruffier hair, and the hats are used less, but the costume change is just enough to kind of tilt it toward a darker visual aesthetic overall. Ace starts playing with different outfits, like she's sort of in a different variation of an outfit or dresses up in each story. The show's looking different. The TARDIS console room features for a scene briefly and then it's gone, which is a shame, but we spent a lot of time in it during the early 80s, so I don't mind not being in it as much. But it's fitting that it ends here, not just from the aesthetics, but because it ends on contemporary Earth with a companion who has connections on Earth that ground her, that develop her character. As much as we have loved companions been and gone, not many of them have roots that we connect to, which kind of makes them feel like the sidekicks in a Saturday morning cartoon. They are, the Doctor is the wacky lead character, and they're the mates going off on thingy. The exceptions, I guess, really, and this isn't to insult the companions at all. That's not a slam on any of them. It's just that's what the archetype is. Ian and Barbara are sort of the exception because we start the story with them.
Yeah,
they're our POV characters. Joe, we sort of see develop a life, and a social life and romantic interest, as the last story goes on. Sarah Jane is sort of a POV character a bit because we, the viewer, know that she's sneaking around and pretending to be someone else when she first arrives, so we're sort of watching her and the Doctor's stories collide. Aside from them, there's not really many grounded companions that you could say more about. We know a lot about Ace, especially because of this series.
Yeah.
And last series we learned about her likes, her dislikes, her personality, and some of her fears. This series we learned what makes her tick. Mm-hmm. We even learned why she's in the story and what villain set it up in the first place. Yeah. I really like this TARDIS team.
I love them.
And it both is awesome and shite that it ends with them, because at least it ends on a high note, but you want to see more of them.
Really want to see
There's at least one more series with these two that should have existed.
Yeah.
Am I sad it doesn't exist? Not necessarily, because if it did, we wouldn't have the sort of show we have now.
Yeah.
but also with this last story in particular, the reboot of the show wouldn't have had this the setup it does.
Mm-hmm.
This is absolutely the beginnings of the powerless state of Rose, of Jackie, of Mickey. Like that's what it comes from. This story's like, oh yeah, Doctor Who can be that. It can feel like you could look out your back window one day and see a blue box at the end of your road.
Yeah.
And this is the story that makes it possible. And then the modern series takes that, especially in the Russell T Davies era, takes it and runs with it, and introduces it to a whole new generation. What did you think of Survival?
I thought it was a bit mind-boggly.
Cats are evil. No, they're not, she says. Cat mum of two.
Cats aren't evil. They're just misunderstood.
No, they're evil.
Yeah.
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 But no, it was really good, and oh, I've forgotten her name. It's Sophie Aldred. Is
Sophie
it?
Aldred, yeah.
She is amazing in it. Really, really good.
Ooh.
The special effects in it are really good because there's a moment where she looks at the Doctor and her eyes are yellow, like she's like the infected, and then she looks down and her eyes are normal again. It's like, what? Like in the same shot. It's like, what the heck?
That was smooth. Well done,
It's
guys.
real clever, guys.
Well done, 1980s. Well done. What did you think of season 26 as a whole?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a strong series.
Favourite story? I'd wager that it was Battlefield, but I think that's partial bias.
You would be correct.
Yeah. Favourite Sylvester costume out of the two?
Yeah, this one I'd say.
The dark coat.
I love the jumper, the vest.
Well, he's still wearing that.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I love the question mark vest, and he's still got it. And I just think he looks great. I think he looks comfortable, which is what is most important.
He's got the Troughton thing, partially down to the fact that he's a short arse, just like Pat was.
Yeah.
And partially down to like the checkered pants and the sort of the Patrick's like the scruffy version of formal.
Yeah.
Whereas Sylvester sort of looks very formal.
Yeah.
It's just that a couple of items he's wearing are a bit weird.
I'm sad that we don't get to see any more of Sylvester.
Oh, but we do.
Well,
sweet lady, we get to see.
Not really.
We get to see Sylvester's final adventure. We get to see the Seventh Doctor's final adventure, which we will be getting to in the very near future.
We're having a little break from Doctor Who, aren't we?
Well, we're literally having like a week's break, so
Yay!
we thought in that week's break we're not going to take any with us. But those who are watching might be wondering what's coming next. Things we are going to talk about in the next couple of months for you, and it'll be basically like in a week or so for us. We'll start on all of these. We are going to be talking about 30 more years in the TARDIS. We're going to be talking about Destiny of the Doctors, Anthony Ainley's final appearance as the Master. We're going to be talking, of course, about the TV movie. We're going to be talking about the Curse of Fatal Death. We're going to be talking about the Scream of the Shalka. But up next in our Doctor Who-a-thon is another bonus video. You say you're sad to see the back of Sylvester.
Yeah.
What if I told you that you were going to see Sylvester, Colin, Peter, Tom, and John one more time in the role of the Doctor in the same special?
I'm nervous.
Why are you nervous?
Because it combines with a show that I don't like.
Oh, that's the least of the shite things
Oh
about
no!
it. Madam! What year is this?
No!
What do you think of season 26? Let us know down in the comments below. What's your favourite story? Goodbye! Come on, Ace. You've got work to do.